Uh, that's not all. We have come up with a variant process. So what the variant process means is, if you look at the way that handsets are essentially introduced into markets, OEMs typically design the handset on a certain platform, and the same handset can go through, for sake of an example, let's look at the example up on the slide, 3 different types of changes. There could be very limited cosmetic changes that are tied to just user interface or change of plastic, change of ID. The second change would be a PCBA change, so you're converting from, say, a CANI bar to a QWERTY. And the third one is you're making changes in software. So the principle that we've applied is, if the OEM has a parent device, say a 1X device, which is a parent device, that went through exhaustive testing, any design that is based upon the same parent device that goes through some minimal change does not need to be tested as exhaustively. It has to be tested with some basic sanity testing, some safe for network testing, and that should be the extent of testing that is needed. We have run a few devices. You can look at the Qualcomm.com/OMH page. There are a few Huawei devices that you will see there that have gone through this parent variant scenario. So this is a fairly robust process that we have tested out, and this further reduces the amount of time that it takes. So essentially what this means to the OEMs is, if you build a 1X device and you have several different form factors that will emerge from that same device, we treat those as variants. And if you believe that there is not significant difference, if you are adding 1900 megahertz to an 800 only handset, or if you're changing the megapixel of the camera, those are small enough changes that all that is needed is basic sanity testing around the areas that are changed. And that's the extent of the effort required. So this, from a testing perspective, is less than 5 days of test. And we accept, obviously, testing that OEMs can do internally. So if an OEM like Samsung does testing in their own labs and brings results to the tag, I think that is good enough as well. So this will significantly expedite the amount of time that it takes for new products to get on board, get accepted. The Hyderabad lab, which is known as the Q lab, is where the formal testing is done. That was the 3 to 4 weeks of test time that I mentioned earlier. And then finally, any support that is needed from a go-to-market perspective. So this is a fairly end-to-end process that has been created that is now functional for all of our OEMs and brand partners, customers, that is functioning fairly well. And I'm hoping, after this trip, after the meetings that we've had today and hopefully have tomorrow, we're going to have a lot more variety of handsets that we start to see that go through this process. So let me switch gears a little bit with that background. I think India is very interesting for OMH at many different fronts. I've been working in the India market since 2003. I think first thing I'd like to acknowledge is that apart from Samsung, Reliance and Tata are really the ones that championed OMH in 2008. I mean, at that time, Rajesh Sharath and Milesh Ruparel, who was the head of procurement, they were the guys that drove OMH. And then obviously their teams in terms of the technical specs that were required, the acceptance of the same exact set of criteria for the ecosystem that was required was what was driven by them. And the objective was very clear. Operators, obviously, in India are experts at handset sourcing. I don't think there is any doubt there. I think CDMA has learned a lot from the operators in India. But the idea was clearly to expand variety and to go after handsets that operators would typically not be procuring. So how do you essentially create a sustainable open market for that? So this market is pretty significantly impactful in terms of the size, 120 million subscribers. EVDO is available across all 3 operators, 150 cities. And this is 3G. I mean, these are the data rates that will be seen as UMTS and HSPS starts to get deployed. So this is a very significant opportunity both for EVDO devices, for EVDO USB dongles, data products, FWPs, routers, in terms of what is possible. Our projections, these are internal Qualcomm projections that you see up on the chart there, are, to start off with calendar year 2011, maybe 40 to 45% will be open market, and then obviously expanding very rapidly. One other interesting opportunity that we believe the open market creates by making CDMA independent of the operator is that Qualcomm has a very large range of chipsets that we call our multi-mode chipsets. So we have in the 6K range, we have the single chip multi-mode family, and in the 7K range, we obviously have a number of CDMA, EVDO, UMTS, and GSM product families available. Now, the value proposition here is that a market like India, where since the auctions have been completed, there is no one operator that has won a nationwide 3G footprint. We also have Tata and Reliance that have a nationwide DO footprint, Tata, Reliance, and MTS. So for OEMs that are considering entering this market to serve the needs of both UMTS as well as EVDO and brands that are already present, the opportunity to be able to have a single SKU that can support, as you can see up on the top, a Tata DO or a Reliance DO or MTS DO SIM card. The next one is on the same SIM card, you can support both EVDO as well as UMTS. The third one obviously is a standard 3G SIM card from any of the 3G winners, or the fourth one is just a regular GSM SIM card. So this is now possible because we have made CDMA completely open. GSM and UMTS always were. This creates a very interesting opportunity for the consumer, for the brand, and for the OEM. So as I start to conclude my part of the session today, I think the main takeaway here is OMH, I guess, stands for Open Market Handsets, but in terms of the technical platform that it is built around, this same exact process, the same exact specs, the technology can be used to harmonize handsets for operator use, where the operator is simply buying an existing handset and locking them in to their specific network, or the handset is obviously sold in the open market. But there is no additional effort that is required. You reduce time to market very significantly by going through this approach. I'd like to conclude with our roadmap. You can see the OMH logo. This may be a little bit of a difficult chart to take a look at, but if you look at the OMH logo up there, you can see that in the feature phone family, all of our chipsets already support OMH, and in the smartphone family, we've started to add support, especially on Android and BMP for both 7625 and 7627. Hopefully, going forward, all of these chipsets will have OMH support, but I think at this point in time, for the markets that we are focused on, we have enough of coverage across our roadmap to be able to address the very low end all the way up to smartphones and Android and BMP in terms of the value that OMH will create. That was my last slide. Thank you very much for your time and attention. I am available along with my team for any questions that you may have after the session. Thank you.